Hello! So we're going to talk about an article called Why Struggling Cities Should Cut Property Tax. And it's very appropriate because of the way New York City has a commission which is trying to raise property tax in the middle of a worldwide pandemic. They're actually changing everything so that people that are paying some as low as $900 are going to be paying $9,000. That's a 10-time increase, right? And then there'll be some people that'll get a 10% decrease. But this is something that we need to study. And we see this article here called Why Struggling Cities Should Cut Property Tax. This was published right after theoretically tax day, April 15th, 2021. And let's look at it. And thank you, Mr. Vinaraja. Thank you very much. This is the Wall Street Journal, and it talks about a neighborhood in Baltimore. Could be a neighborhood in Brooklyn, but he focuses on Baltimore. And it shows that many will be tempted to raise property tax to fill the gaps. Well, that's not good. It also means that it's not only bad for the cities, it's going to be bad for your future. New York City has a property tax advisory commission that has decided to throw out a 1980s law, S7000A, you can look at it in Wikipedia, and simply migrate from assessed values that were microscopic to market value, which sometimes is enormous, right? And it will be clearer, but in 5 years, people will see enormous changes. It hasn't passed yet. It's just a proposal, and I recommend that everyone get on their community board, flood the streets, tell your neighbors, talk on mailing lists, talk on whatever it is, Nextdoor, Craigslist, however you communicate, probably by phone and text, say, what is going on here? Of course, they've also pitted neighbor against neighbor because the people in Staten Island and the people that are co-ops and condos some will benefit. Then Manhattan, also the co-ops and condos in Manhattan probably will benefit. But then there'll be small homeowners that will be hurt. And they always say the rich. But if you look at neighborhoods in North Brooklyn, they're not all rich in the neighborhoods that have increased in market value. Maybe Park Slope has some so-called rich, but if you look around, and Williamsburg maybe has some so-called rich, but the majority are probably not rich. I don't think all the rich just moved into Brooklyn, and you can include Bed-Stuy in that mix, Fort Greene. All these neighborhoods will be getting fairly large tax increases. And look at this article. They should cut them instead. I couldn't agree more with this. Remember that New York City, in this case, not only has a property tax, which is relatively low today for especially North Brooklyn, and especially Brooklyn in general, except for Bay Ridge and South Brooklyn. But they have an income tax. So if you work, then you get an income tax, a special New York City income tax, 4%. Then you get an enormous property tax change. So most of the people I've spoken to have said, might as well live in Westchester or Long Island, where theoretically the schools are better, and that's also debatable. Everything is debatable, of course. But if you live in Westchester or Long Island, there is no income tax. There's no city income tax or county income tax. that I know of. I think New York City is the only one. Let's see. This isn't only sound economics. It also is an antidote to the recessive taxation scheme whose costs fall unfairly on the country's poorest homeowners. Now, I have to say that these articles always defend the poor because, that's just it could be a fact too. So, and this is a researcher from NYU. So, and speaking of NYU, which pays no property tax whatsoever, and neither does Columbia. None of these Ivy League, I don't know if NYU's Ivy League, but Columbia, Ivy League, and these elite universities who are infinitely rich with endowments of $13 billion, and NYU has a smaller endowment, but Columbia's endowment is enormous. They pay nothing in property tax, zero. Even Harvard or MIT pay something in lieu of they pay in lieu of tax. They pay something to the communities. And this article actually speaks about Boston and San Francisco. So the traditional case against high property tax is they deter investment, chase people out of cities, I have to agree, and make it harder to attract new residents. Growing empirical evidence from across the country shows that property tax are also inequitable, saddling low-income homeowners with a lopsided share of the municipal tax burden, which is true because the study shows that assessed values for lower valued houses are overassessed and assessed values for higher valued houses are underassessed. So the higher valued houses are paying less than their so-called value. On the surface, it isn't intuitive why property tax is unfair. They are calculated, after all, as a fixed percentage of the home's assessed value. Well, what the proposal is to get rid of assessed values and just make it market value. Of course, who decides market value? Who else? The New York City Department of Finance. The problem is, let's just continue, the houses in poor neighborhoods generally sell for less than the assessed value, which is what I just said, and used to calculate their property tax, while expensive homes in affluent communities reliably sell for more than their assessed value, which is true. The studies show that, and we'll click on the link to see that. Tax assessors systematically undervalue America's priciest homes while consistently overvaluing the country's least expensive homes. Affluent homeowners may be paying less in taxes than they should, and poorer homeowners have been paying more than they should. So this is interesting. Take Baltimore. According to the study, the University of Chicago, of course, more than 75% of the city's least valuable homes sold between 2007 and 18 yielded prices lower than the assessed value. Well, it also depends on how they do assessed values. If the assessed value is supposed to be 100% of, and the exact opposite is true when it comes to Baltimore's lavish homes. So I guess Baltimore does have lavish homes. During the same period, the residents sold on average more than twice the value used to compute property tax. Right. This absurdity is amplified, I love this part, by Baltimore's high property tax rate, which is twice that of neighboring counties. Even as the city hemorrhages people, Baltimore has fewer residents in 2020 than it had in 1920, the roaring 20s. This is hard to believe. Even New York City has increased, even though probably it depends on how you count. I guess if you make the count yourself, you can make the number anything you want. In return for paying the highest property taxes in the city, city dwellers get a stew of the worst services and outcomes. It's starting to sound like New York City, and municipal ineptitude, leading to uncollected water bills, potholes, potmarking every other street. I have to say, New York City is trying at least to fix the streets, and alleys strewn with trash. Listen to this, many Baltimore's public school buildings lack heat. Wow. And New York is better in that regard. Or drinkable water. And the city's homicide rate, We didn't want that. And the city's homicide rate in drug overdose and illiteracy and lead poisoning rates are among the highest in America. What an injustice that the residents most directly affected by this dysfunction are often the same homeowners who, because of inflated assessments, pay a higher share of the city's property tax. Baltimore isn't alone in this regard. The same cruel irony persists in Detroit, Atlanta, St. Louis, and other cities caught in the quicksand of exorbitant price. And New York City wants to join the mix, it looks like. Because of this myopia caused by the current crisis, leaders in the city, like Baltimore, may be unwilling to cut taxes, to reverse the day they never want to cut. Elected officials think it's their budget, quote unquote, their budget. To reverse decades of decline in equity, however, this is exactly what they must do. That is exactly true. And let's remove the income tax in New York City. And they need to start now, because U.S. cities are about to enter into a fierce contest for capital as the economy emerges from this pandemic related strictures, which is the lockdowns. How we work and where we live will never be the same. An unrivaled investment will accompany this transformation. Relief dollars from Washington will be dwarfed by pent-up private capital spilling into markets as American consumers begin to spend again. This could be the biggest infusion of federal capital into the economy since the New Deal, and the largest introduction of private investment ever. Those investments won't be distributed evenly, however, and cities will need to set themselves apart conspicuously. There's already cities like this in Arkansas that are paying you $10,000 in Bitcoin and giving you a bicycle to move there. North Arkansas wants to be a tech hub. Parts of Tennessee want to be a tech hub. San Francisco, already a tech hub. The whole West Coast. New York City gives the words of a tech hub. We have a mayor now that wants to get paid in Bitcoin, but I don't see why not everyone get paid in Bitcoin or have that option. It seems undemocratic to just yourself be paid in Bitcoin. In the scramble to grab a share of this gold rush, there's no time to lose. Cities should pledge to cut property taxes immediately because investment decisions are being made now. The economic upside of cutting property tax is evident from the academic literature. A 1999 school finance reform in New Hampshire resulted in property tax cuts across the Granite State. In low-density areas, economists found that 11% to 22% jump in residential construction. That's good. In southern New Hampshire, where housing concentration was already high, tax cuts drove up home prices instead. So tax cuts drove home prices up. Both result in a surge of construction and higher home values, materialized in both Boston and San Francisco. Many forget that before they were two of America's darling coastal cities. Both were in steep decline with substantial population losses between 1950 and 1980, and then there were tax cuts. Remember the ballot measures, Proposition 13 in California, 1978, and Massachusetts, 1980. And New York State was actually 1981 with S7000A, which is in Wikipedia. If you just search for S7000A, we'll put a link to it, which slashed taxes. San Francisco's property tax rate plunged 57% practically overnight. Over the course of 2 years, Boston's property tax rate fell 75%. Amazing. These are lessons with renewed importance today. A modern catalyst sparked by disease could give way to a renaissance of smart and righteous reform. In cutting property tax, cities have a chance to reboot their economies and dismantle tax policies that have hurt poor homeowners the most. They always use this homeowner thing, but it's always, also helps the rich. Leaders who seize the moment will see their cities surge ahead. Those who don't will fall further behind.
Touching it.
This is very good. Thank you, Mr. Vinaraja. We have to say this is, and he's from NYU. So can you, Mr. Vinaraja, pay property tax, please, at NYU? Previously served as Deputy Attorney General. Wow. And we're going to give you a lead in to other things too. So let's try to show how to see what your changes will be, right? And what we'll do is we'll go over here to see what your changes will be. Now I'm going to go into here and open up there so you can see what I see. Let me move this down so it's not in your way. And what you can do is go to, first of all, you can go to a mailing list, tony.brooklyncoop.org, and you can join the mailing list right here, join that group, add yourself, or subscribe to the blog here by clicking on democracy. And this is a mailing list. You can actually go to the mailing list itself, and I think if you sign in you can just post and subscribe. It needs a lot of people to discuss this, or you can go to your own mailing list or your own text messages, contact all your friends. But here's also a resource. You can go to this website, which is nyc.titleforce.org, and I'll try to make that bigger, but it doesn't make this thing bigger, so I'm just highlighting it up here. And one of the links would be, let me just show it from the beginning. The home page is here, right? And one of the links is this new tax rate search, so it brings you here. You can also search from the main search page. It's got a lot of search capability, but this is kind of cool because it's an AMP page. Let's look what's going to happen to our friend, our former mayor, Bill de Blasio, right? You can search by name. Looks like his tax is going to go up 260%. Let's just zoom in on that. 260%. Approximately, you know, all these numbers are approximate because exemptions are all over the place, and who knows who's getting what exemptions. If you want to share this page, usually you can do this to share up here, but it's just going to share the main page. If you want to share the details, you go here. Let me just close this. If you want to share the details, all these pages are simple, basically AMP pages, and this page is easily shareable. So you can go here and share it. Let's say you go here, it'll build, actually I shouldn't do that. Let me kill this and kill the save later, don't save. Yeah, let me save that just to show as an example. And kill that. And then you can share it on Twitter, right? So just go there, share it on Twitter. Let's go down. Let's look at the details right there. And let's compare against somebody in Staten Island, right? Staten Island is going to benefit. So we'll go to Nicole. Nicole, we always want to use public figures here. Maliotakis, right? And there you can look at hers and it will go down. So some people will go down, like 10% seems to be the what I'm seeing in Staten Island. We could do a study of this. Now let's go back to the original article, and there was something that said study here. So study, Chicago study. This was, oh, this is the study itself. I don't want that study. There was another one, I think, right at the top that was interesting with maps. And so if we look here, shows, country shows, right? So if we go here and we look at interactive reports, this is the University of Chicago. So let's look at Kings County. Yeah, this is pretty cool. let's go to Kings County, Brooklyn. There's a Kings County in California. Who knew that? And let's see what we see. It seems to take a while to load this thing for some reason. Maybe it loaded in another window. Let's see. Click to access the report. Click here to access the report. And what just happened there? Let's try over here with Brooklyn, because I know it seemed to work over here. It might be the... there it is. So let's see if I can make this bigger. Evaluation of property tax regressivity in Brooklyn. And look at this. It's showing, it says right here that it talks about the assessed value and how low value houses are overassessed and high value houses are underassessed, so it directly affects property tax. And there it is in a graph showing the overassessed at the low end and underassessed. Can't be clearer than that. But what's interesting here also is they have some maps that actually show details. So I highly recommend you click on that link. We'll put the article there. It's Wall Street. You got to hand it to the Wall Street Journal. And I thought there were maps in here, but where did the maps go? Let's see. It might be, okay, so that might be the second one. So there we go. So let's go back here. Shows. Let's look again for another one. It was right here. Study shows. And let me go. Oh, here, Chicago study. No, but it was in that interactive one. Homicide. Yeah. So I'm not seeing why I don't see it here. It should be here. Right. Oh, okay. So maybe it was inside here. Click that nationwide report. Drop down. Okay. Oh, yeah, the nationwide report. I believe I did that. So evaluation, appendix, sources. What happened to the maps? Appendix for more. See how the appendix. I know I saw a map, so let's keep looking slowly. Just like to see maps. Source, finance, GitHub for more information. Oh, look, it can be found on GitHub. Wow, that is so cool. All right, so we'll find that map and we'll show it, but it was kind of cool that it showed the details of Brooklyn down to the county and everything. It was kind of cool. So yeah, so we're gonna say peace out, double check all these things, but we'll definitely go to the website and search for yourself, tony.brooklyncoop.org and nyc.titleforce.org. And you can search for your own name, you can search for your friends' names. If you go here, you can also search, and this one is a little bit more friendly with the addresses. So if you put in some address like, I don't know, something random like 630 or maybe 930 Lafayette. And you can even talk to this. Is that right? Lafayette Avenue. Must not be spelled right. Lafayette. Oh, it is querying. Yeah, so there you go. Look at some random one, and then we have to correct that because that doesn't look right. So you can click on some of these links, and it'll give you the similar data. So there it is, the proposed change, and before exemptions. And if we shift refresh, it should show details, and we're going to say thank you for this, and let's see what else we can show. Please make comments, subscribe. We're going to try to put links in there. If you have questions, help each other. This thing is really cool because it shows, you can even click here and see a map of all of Brooklyn and all the red, not just Brooklyn, but all of New York City. All the blue is low tax, all the red is high tax. So if you zoom out enough, you're getting every data point in New York City, and it's going to explode the poor map box. But it's kind of cool. Oh yeah, it gets to a point where it can't do it anymore. And you can also go here and just go down, and it probably, somewhere here, it probably will give you help. See, if we go to the details page, if you go here, go to some details page, like here, let's kill that, close. Right, so if you go down to the bottom, usually there's an article. So there's a lot of information about this property, all the political clubs, and then usually at the bottom there's an article which you can read about property tax, because these are all cool AMP pages. How much is property tax? You click here. Update for homeowners. In New York City, if your property taxes are low, they're probably going up. Yes, the commission. Here's the link. You can zoom in on this. So this is the website, nyc.titleforce.org, and there's a page called Property Tax Search. Please, and here's some summaries. These pages, okay, so let me just go back there. Go back, I think, here, and if you look here down at the bottom, this is a good article. Go to the map. These are summaries, so this will show you park slope here. No, sorry, let me do this one more time. There is a map that shows kind of the summary of by borough. How does property tax? Yeah, so these are the ones that kind of show the boroughs. So you can see Manhattan is mostly red, which means it's on the high side of tax. The Bronx is very high in tax, so theirs will probably go down. But Brooklyn is low. In general, Park Slope and North Brooklyn, you can see, is mostly blue, and South Brooklyn, so Brooklyn is very big, and Queens is red, so a lot of Queens will get 10% reductions. Staten Island is mostly red, so they'll get their 10% reduction, but the one that's going to get socked is Brooklyn, this North Brooklyn part, Park Slope. Let's see if you click on this, yeah. And that pretty much summarizes the whole thing. So we're going to say peace out, and thank you very much, and subscribe, and ask your questions, and help each other. And we have to talk to our neighbor, and talk to our friends. Text, please.
Please.
Peace out.
Please.
Yeah, please. We don't want to be priced out of Brooklyn. You got to look at the camera there.
Yeah, I was in the camera like 3 times.
Yeah, cool. But the camera is right there. You want to say peace out?
No, I've been looking at this.
No, but the camera is right there, so you got to look at the camera.
Well, peace out.
Peace out. Thank you.
What is that then?
That's just a monitor on that, so it's like.
So it's like